Welcome to the Seeking Justice podcast, a podcast dedicated to exploring and spotlighting issues of justice and injustice throughout the world. I'm your host, Benedict Bloggs, a passionate and dedicated social and environmental justice advocate throughout my entire adult life, and now a barrister at law and international human rights advocate based in Brisbane, Australia. I want to use this platform to give a voice to the voiceless, to interview interesting guests working on important human rights and social justice and environmental issues, and as an independent media mechanism to clarion call forth positive change in our societies and our world. The Seeking Justice podcast crew acknowledge the First Nations peoples of Australia, specifically the Yuggera and Turrbal peoples of Meanjin and Brisbane, the traditional custodians of the lands on which we live and work. We acknowledge that their sovereignty was never ceded. We pay our respects to their ancestors, their descendants, their elders, past, present and emerging, who continue cultural and spiritual connections to country. We recognise their valuable contributions to Australian and global societies. We acknowledge the stories, traditions and living cultures of our First Nations peoples and their contributions and sacrifices towards a better community and a better future. We also acknowledge the need for all of us to reclaim our own indigeneities from the lands from whence we came. Okay, everyone, welcome back. As part of the Seeking Justice podcast, being a former award-winning slam poet, slam poetry is not cool anymore, I know, and a musician, I want my guests to come on, if they feel comfortable, to share a poem or a song that has inspired them or represents what they do, their work in the world, or has some relevance to them. And being a creative segment, it's completely creatively interpreted by my guests and they can do whatever the hell they want, really. So Eddie has subcontracted this wonderful human being who's adorning us with his presence, Geraint Jenkins. Geraint.
In the Germanic.
Oh, yes.
Is also a Celtic origin name.
Germanic, yeah.
Europe was once Celtic, and then of course they got pushed further and further.
Yes.
And the Welsh ended up with their own crazy language.
So Geraint.
And Gair for short.
Gair for short. Our Welsh Gair-with-the-Hair. He's got an amazing T-shirt on, he was just telling us about, Royal Indigenous Surfing Australia. Yep, his friend was an Indigenous surfer who competed and won the Pipe Masters.
And
Robbie Page.
And he's still, an advocate for...
Amazing.
He's out there
Indigenous surfing.
doing this stuff, helping the youth. Like he's a real
incredible.
Mentor. So he's a classic.
And you also were talking about this beautiful guitar. Your friend.
I've got a friend in Wollongong
who's
a master luthier.
Yeah. I thought
Well,
you were saying he was a Lutheran, and so
he maybe is.
But and then it's got a little garnish of hillbilly on top, doesn't it?
It's got the hillbilly. This is very rare or beautiful rare Appalachian spruce. It's called red Adirondack from the up in Adirondack.
And I understand J.D. Vance, Vice President-elect, has kissed this appellation in Hillbilly Elegy, as he did. So he didn't have it on his couch. Don't worry about that, anyone. But he did have that in the Hillbilly Elegy. And then there were... So your Lutheran Luthier friend, he has made guitars for John Butler, you said?
Yeah, and he was... travelled with the Waifs when they
when
they were first fledgling little group.
Amazing, yeah.
He and his wife, and the story is very interesting. Actually, just a sideline.
Yeah, we love sidelines. By the way,
sideline. I'm the segue of segues.
Oh yes.
And so, this beautiful man wanted to make guitars for a living.
Yes.
Even though he sort of worked in the steelworks and
blah
blah blah. His beautiful, ever-loving wife said, "Why don't we travel around Australia when they were young to try and promote his." Luthering. Yeah. Because he could go to the folk festivals and there was always an instrument workshop,
Yep.
And he's got some other great, renowned friends who sort of helped him along the way.
And sorry, where did he learn to be a luthier?
Okay, so there's another beautiful man, Jack Spira, who's another renowned luthier in the Dandenongs.
Yes.
And my mate Dan happened to be at a folk festival in Braidwood one day.
Yep.
Ducked down there from Wollongong. Just 19-year-old, just wandering around. He saw this guy actually in the process of making a guitar at the instrument maker's workshop. And he was so, taken by it that he actually started to talk to him. And Jack Spira is the most beautiful, giving, not one of these people who hoard their secrets.
Their knowledge, Their
knowledge. And he actually went to put himself in the London School of Furniture to
learn about wood. Yes.
So now he's a world-renowned luthier.
Incredible.
Under the radar, these people you can't sort of look them up in the phone book.
Yep.
And so Dan just went on and on and on, and in the end, he's making these incredible instruments, Honduran mahogany neck.
Wow.
About 10 different timbers, blackwood, Aussie blackwood bindings. It's just the most interesting.
And hence no stickers like my Maton, which I've overly stickered in the back.
No,
because it's a beautiful guitar.
On the
Oh, lovely, yeah.
Yep, and just one little dot of, pious shell.
Wow,
so, it's just,
that's incredible.
I feel blessed.
Yeah, and it's so good to have a story with or to know where all the component parts of your guitar came from.
If we had more time, I'd tell you that I met him when I was picking apples in Batlow.
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that in another episode called Gair-with-the-Hair went there with the apples. That's what we'll come to. But the reason we've got Gare is because Eddie has outsourced her and subcontracted her role. She's a fine singer. We have been jamming with wonderful folk songs and other things with her new beautiful guitar. But Gair-with-the-Hair has written a song about our good friend David, who's down in the Alexander McConaughey Centre in the ACT. Gair, do you want to just tell us about, you'd written a song, well, tell us about your motivations for music and what you want to achieve.
Okay, what my sort of story as a songwriter, I think, is that for years now I'm not a big fan of vacuous songs and vacuous sort of meaningless songs.
Yes.
And I think being a Celt, again being a Welshman and being brought up with an anti-royalist dad, and just sort of fighting for the underdog. And I just remember my sort of avenue into this with Dave was actually through Julian, because years ago I wrote a song.
Julian Assange being that.
Sorry, everybody. And I just remember being absolutely dumbfounded that intelligent people that I've friends, educated, and you'd talk to them about Julian, after the Ecuadorian, especially after the Ecuadorian embassy, fiasco where they just ripped him out of there and chucked him in the marsh. And I remember speaking to this lady, and she was actually, I mentioned her name, but she was educated and, I thought a very aware person. And she said, aren't they still trying to get him on those rape charges in Sweden? And I went, oh my God, the propaganda's been so powerful. The mainstream
and media. They drink the Kool-Aid.
And they drink the Kool-Aid.
It's all a psyop for
and they did it so well, as we know, all those powers that be, and the sort of machinations, and so I thought.
Well, I mean, absolutely you can swear. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but you are allowed to swear.
I was just going to say, F this, I said to myself, I've got to write a song.
Oh, it's amazing.
Because being a songwriter, you think, well, I can't do much more. I'm not a politician, I'm not a this, I'm not a that.
Yeah.
I'm a songwriter. And I had that vision that even if 10 people hear this song and it makes them more aware.
Well,
and so then I went into a full OCD sort of Aspergy sort of, I've got to write this song.
The perfect Assange song.
Perfect. And, and John Shipton then heard
amazing.
It when I met Eddie at the Starcourt Theatre.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah, with
everything
Dave.
goes back to the Starcourt.
It does. And Dave McBride was there.
Exactly,
course, by that time there was this alliance with John and David doing their tours and all this, trying to raise awareness for Dave as well as Julian. And so through some freak of, divine intervention, the friend that did the video, there's a harrowing video because it's called Collateral Murder. The song
I've got that in one of my songs. Okay. So I was just playing that to Eddie.
There you go, because that was actually, the pivotal moment. Or,
exactly.
The one where
the exposure,
You've got to get this
exactly,
dude. And so I thought, well, I'm going to call it Collateral Murder. And it's like this 7.5 minute Dylan-esque doos about, and it tells the exact story. And so anybody listening to that story...
Can we do that as well as the McBride?
I'm
Are you ready?
Musician.
He's ready. He's always ready. I just wanted to interject when we were talking about, psyops by the intelligence state. And if anyone had any reservations about thinking that even happens, just look at the fact that the former deputy head of ISIS and Al-Qaeda could be a liberating freedom fighter for Syria. I mean, the way the Western mainstream media has whitewashed that whole escapade is mind-blowing. But they're just becoming so careless and carefree about the way that they do it anymore because they know most people probably aren't tuning in, or they just believe it, or they just drink the Kool-Aid. It is. And then the truth comes out a long time afterwards, or whatever it might be.
In the meantime, as we know, the people that are sort of ignorant,
yes.
I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I think that if you watch mainstream media, you're never going to see
it's like, it's manufactured consent, as they say.
Exactly.
With Noam Chomsky.
Manufactured consent, these wrongdoings and as you say, it's almost farcical how ISIS turns into this and that. Anyone that looks into the big picture can. I mean, for people like us, and I don't mean that in a elitist way. I think we look and go,
it's just being
look what they're doing there.
Exactly. It's just it's using your brain, your frontal lobe, and your executive function to engage in critical analysis. It's really not that. It's a very human experience. So. I mean, maybe someone should actually do a study on this, Eddie, for climate change purposes. Is there more carbon emissions coming out in the form of methane out your backside from engaging in the cognitive dissonance of drinking the Kool-Aid? Because it might be more sustainable just to be, a rational human being, believe in logic, the rule of law, those kinds of things. But anyway, who knows? But it would be wonderful if you played both your songs, because that would also probably take us over the 3-hour mark, and then we can stick it to Joe Rogan and be like, we can say, Joe, we're longer than you.
We go on the marathon of
we like podcast. That. That'll be breaking news in the podcast world where everyone's too online. Seeking justice is longer than Rogan. That's what we want.
And can I just interject here once more and just say that about the song for David?
Yes.
I was already on the bandwagon with Collateral Murder, and I felt, the honour I felt when John Shipton looked up at the screen and said, "Who wrote that song?"
Amazing.
And the next minute we became mates. I played at quite a few gatherings that he asked me, and he's enamoured with my daughter, as most people are, because she's another little songbird, Rosie. So,
what's her last name? As well, Jenkins.
Rosie Jenkins.
Rosie Jenkins. We love Rosie Jenkins.
She's also tapping into. We play a lot of Celtics.
Amazing.
Influenced, I'd call it.
So, and where can people catch you?
Well, believe it or not, we're having a house concert on the 8th of February.
Oh, there you go.
Mullumbimby.
This might not be dropped then, unfortunately.
No, that's fine. But
the 8th of February, you can catch him in the podcast.
3rd of March.
On the where? Yeah, outside the bloody court.
Who could be... Sell your tickets to Taylor Swift. Sell your tickets to Oasis. You don't need to go to any of that. There's no ticker tech cartel conduct here. This is free music for the people by Gair, Jenkins, Gair-with-the-Hair. Let's hear, Collateral Murder for Julian Assange, and then we're going to hear what's the David song.
Oh, okay. So really quickly, what happened after John and I became mates? Met Dave that night with Eddie. Within a whirlwind amount of time, it felt we were down in Canberra, and Rosie and I actually chanted outside the Supreme Court. So to do that with your daughter, and she's 25, which is
amazing.
24 then.
Yep.
To have a daughter who's switched on.
Yeah.
Actually, a bit of a sideline when she was 12. She said, "Dad, I don't want to know about all this stuff that's going on in the world, please." And now she's like, "Thanks for telling me, Dad, because none of my friends know."
Oh my God, there's hope. There's hope for me and my 14-year-old.
Yeah, there is always hope. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
And so just really quickly, the Collateral Murder song. John was enamoured of that, and then I just said to Dave, "I'd like to write a song for you." And he said, "Oh, okay." So then I turned up and I'm focused on that.
Yeah.
To again read the book 3 times.
It's about kind of distilling the essence of the story into the song.
Yeah, trying to make it as valid, and not colorised.
No,
which is tricky in a song.
It is. Without making it gimmicky, but making it to the roots of the tradition of folk music and that
all that sort of thing. And again,
the genocide began, I was at a loss as to what to do. I had my 4-year-old daughter, and I just went, bugger this, I'm going to go out busking, and I called the project Busking for Love. And I went, and actually the first day I went busking was in Northey Street markets, and I turned up and there were so many people at the markets, and I just got stage fright and went, what the hell am I doing? Like, I don't need to be doing this.
Did you do it?
Yeah, I got up and did it, and I've got these beautiful photos, because I did start some social media sites, Busking for Love, with my it was nice for my kids to see that as something to do. And the antidote for despair is action, Do you know the famous singer from the 60s singer? She had a short relationship with Bob Dylan.
Joan Baez.
Yes, that's exactly. And she's got that quote. So that quote, that quote was the inspiration. So I was sitting there. I learnt Masters of War. I was playing that. I was playing, all the kind of folk music that I knew. Yeah. And at one point, one lady came up to me. She was so exasperated, and she just threw $150 in my thing. And over the next few weeks, I raised about $900, which I donated to Medicine Sans Frontières and Palestinian Children's Fund, etc. I just wanted to get out there and use my voice, literally, figuratively, metaphorically, whatever, just to do something, and then I was the crazy barrister. I went in, which I am,
the
but
busking barrister.
Well, it's true. The Courier Mail did a cartoon of me in my robes with my guitar. Yep.
Like you got the little character too.
Exactly. And then I went and set my chambers up outside Parliament House in Speaker's Corner and called it Ceasefire Chambers. Did a media release and everything else. And they all, the mainstream media ignored me, but it was about getting the message out on social media that there's this privileged white male barrister who gives a shit about what's going on.
Make enough money to get a Ferrari.
No, that's right. So, I'm far from a Ferrari.
And so really,
we can write a song. Give me a fast car, far enough away from a Ferrari, something like that. Anyway,
so Dave's song was born out of this this impetus to really nail the stories of not only Julian but then Dave, because I remember he actually said to me in one of our chats, I'm not going to say the whole word, but he said, "I'm amazed." He goes, "I'm doing all these, the rounds trying to get awareness. Some people don't even know what this is all about." And that's what really rocks me to my core. Is that, again, I don't want to go sort of knocking these poor people that haven't got a clue, but I don't know how many people I've spoken to about David McBride. Who? And then, again, educated people. I work at the high school.
Yep.
The majority of the teachers, I don't think, have much awareness.
Which is why songwriting can be so powerful. And if you think about Bob Dylan, of course, wasn't it Reuben Carter the Hurricane? Telling that story in that song must have created so much awareness about...
It sort of helped him eventually release.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And that, to me, is the power of music.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And so, so I wrote Dave's song, obviously, after Collateral Murder, but I haven't played Collateral Murder for a while, and it's a long song. Is that okay?
Well, absolutely. But do you want to play Dave's song first? Because we kind of did the...
Yeah, it's a Dave. I think this is a special one for Dave.
And what do we call... What's this called? Called Dave's song?
Called David McBride.
Yep.
Blew the Whistle.
Beautiful.
In brackets, if you know what I mean. So, and it's an audience participation song
Okay.
that we've done quite a few times now.
Do we have, are we doing whistleblowing?
Just do whistle.
Oh, Eddie
okay.
had 1 million whistles at the rally
Amazing.
in Canberra.
Just let me whet my whistle.
Whet your whistle, because
Whet my
when
whistle.
the time comes, you two can whistle, because I can't bloody whistle anymore. I've lost too many teeth on the hillbilly.
I used to be able to do that one when I was at school.
Oh, the old...
Yeah, can't do it anymore.
Is that something to do with age? So this is it. David McBride blew the whistle. I would call it, I think I tapped into his military sort of back, well, the desire. Like you said, he was this kid that wanted to be in the army. He wanted to be a soldier.
Yeah.
He had this passion, this drive,
Yep.
which, you know, I can't relate to because I'm an surfy.
Yeah.
But I can relate that
Yes.
someone's got a passion
Mm.
that they follow through with, even though he went into law and
Yep.
barrister, blah, blah, blah,
Yep.
wasn't happy.
Yep.
Found his calling, and then being such a decent human being,
Mm.
then finds out that this mob that he's working for have got a shitload of skeletons in the closet and more.
Literally. Figuratively. Metaphorically. All of the above.
So I just said, it's David McBride blew the whistle. Australiana.
Beautiful. Thank you. Take it away.
David McBride was filled with pride when he joined the Australian Army. It was a dream realised for David McBride to be serving his country. And some years before, he studied the law in Sydney and then Oxford University. But he knew from the start, deep in his heart, he was destined to be in the military. So he joined the British Army, gave his best for 6 years, and he rose to the rank of a major, a position deserved for the way that he served with exemplary behaviour. But his home was Australia, and when he finally returned, well, he worked in the law as a barrister. But he felt unfulfilled, for in his heart still he was longing to be a soldier. And David McBride was filled with pride to become a lawyer in the Australian Army. And David McBride swore an oath to abide by the morals and laws of his country. That's why he had to make a stand when in Afghanistan he discovered ill deeds and wrongdoings, from cover-ups in the ranks to civilian killings, and the accounts were disturbing and chilling. And as the evidence grew of the sins of a few, well, he knew that he must do his duty and report what he knew, because it was true. So he informed his superiors diligently, but his concerns and his fears just fell on deaf ears. They tried to bury the guts and the gristle, but as a man of the Lord and all he stood for, he knew that he must blow the whistle of honesty, of truth and morality. He knew that he must blow the whistle. Now his government's so vile, put him on trial for revealing hard truths to his nation. And the message rang clear for all to hear when the judge sent David to prison. If you step out of line, you'll surely do time, and will make you not a hero but a villain. While they gave the VC to a madman who's free, who killed Afghani civilians with glee. But in the midst of their hypocrisy, their lies and deceit, well, David was true to his station. Yes, he did the right thing. He served his country, not a king, and the truth will be his vindication. And David McBride had the truth on his side. You ready? The day that he blew the whistle.
I'll put in some overdubs of this one, which I can't do.
Free David.
Free David. Free David. And David, hopefully you can watch this on one of your prison visits with Eddie.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Shout outs. Buy the book, people, if you haven't got it already. And yes, it's excellent. That was beautiful. Amazing.
Thank you.
I'm very enamoured with your finger picking there.
Oh, yes.
And singing whilst doing that. Incredible.
Sort of,
yeah. You're a true troubadour.
I think, well, there's definitely in my family that sort of Welsh musicality.
Yeah.
And
beautiful.
Funnily enough, I went to boarding school in Sydney. The old man shipped me off to Scots College to be something more than a bricklayer, which is what
the bloody not Scots College. You should have gone to Welsh College.
I was going to say because the Scots College wasn't my cup of tea at all.
Yeah.
And in the music class, I remember this old fuddy-duddy teacher, and even at the age of 12, I must have had a penchant for string because I wanted to learn the violin.
Oh yeah.
But I think I'm a bit on the spectrum.
Yep.
And I could never read. I, to this day, don't read a note of music. So this old teacher's trying to get me to look at the score, and I'm like, and he wrote on my first report card in first form or whatever they call it, year 7. This boy has no musical ability.
What? That is unbelievable.
True.
But this is how this has happened time and time again with adults, especially in a certain era before there was kind of knowledge about. You can't sing, shut up, and then they never sing again for the rest of their life. I was contracted by the State Library of Queensland to fly around Queensland teaching slam poetry when I had gone down to the Opera House to perform, and I was I won the Nimbin Performance Poetry World Cup, as they said, tongue in cheek, because apparently it was a breakaway, like a rebellion. Not that ever happens in Nimbin, of course. Rebellion breakaway from the Byron Writers Festival. So they had that down there. But what was amazing was, I went out to places like Longreach, Barcaldine, like the mayor turned up to the poetry workshop along with like the little gangster rappers who were 13. But then some like lovely, middle-aged or older women or men, and they, it was a common theme where people would be like, I've just always wanted to perform on a microphone and I've always been too scared. And it was just the group therapy of like, if you can walk, you can dance, if you can talk, you can sing, you can do poetry, anyone can do poetry, you can paint, anyone can paint, you can draw, some people are more gifted than others, sure, but you can still do it, you can still express yourself, you can use it as a medium. And and just having people feel restrained of not expressing themselves their whole lives because some stupid teacher said, and yes, it's something, but honestly said something like that, or you could, that's pathetic, you can't draw, you can't do that. I was lucky
when I got to 20 years of age.
Yeah.
I was as stoned as a mag, excuse the language.
Yeah.
But I don't partake in that anymore, but at the age of 19, 20, I had a little bit of that. And this hippie mate just, put a guitar in my hand and said, it's not that hard.
Oh, yeah.
3 chords and I'm a guitar player.
Yeah, exactly. Most songs, 99% of all songs in the world have 4 chords or 3 chords or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
And so that was it for me at 20. It was like, I found what I've got, what to do on the planet,
Amazing. Well, and given we're hurtling toward the irreversible climate apocalypse, people out there, justice seekers amongst us, if you've got anything on your bucket list you still want to do, go and do it. I had my 5th midlife crisis last year and I did a scuba diving course, which I'd been wanting to do forever, and I was too scared because of the claustrophobia. And in the end, I didn't, the breathing just was second nature, nothing worried. On the 4th dive, we ended up in a school of grey nurse sharks, and it was all just amazing, and it's just been amazing ever since, except when I nearly died a couple of times, but that's just me. Yeah, exactly.
You got your scuba?
Yeah, but it was just like, I used to, when I was young, I was very introverted and very shy. And in order to the thing that got me out of my bubble was becoming an environmental activist, standing up for trees, giving the voice to the voiceless, whatever. But I also there was a Red Hot Chili Peppers album, and at the end of one of the songs they say, as the Butthole Surfers say, it's better to regret something you did than something you didn't do. Now, there's exceptions to that rule, of course, like, being a serial killer or taking heroin or whatever. But in terms of putting a positive swing on it, and if you feel that you want to get up at a poetry slam or an open mic event, but you're a bit scared, just do it, Courage is feeling the fear and doing it anyway. It's not about, no one's fearless. As someone who, I'm pointing to Eddie as well, who does, and all my colleagues who do get paid to talk and advocate for a living, there's always nerves. Nerves are good. Nerves make you perform. There's no such thing as nervousness, and we love to self-criticize and self-compare against this abstract perfection that doesn't exist. We're just go and do it.
And my favourite.
And be nice to yourself when you do it.
I think I always look at, I feel really, really sort of empathic towards anybody that says, "Well, I can't sing." I've heard so many people say, and I say, "Go and live in an African tribe."
Yes,
they all sing.
And you have to. Yep.
Because it's just part of the fabric.
Well, and it's just a muscle. Like my dad's second wife, she was a professional singer her whole life, and she rewrote the hymns for the Archdiocese of Penrith, I think, or something like that. But I know that's a bit interesting. She was a goddess worshipping pagan Catholic, if you can put that together. But amazing human being, and she said the same. She was just like, I just tell people, I've been a professional singer my whole life. You've got a muscle. Exercise the muscle. You can sing. Anyone can sing. Yes, there are different people who have different pitches, different this, different that. Who cares? Anyone can sing. So join a choir now. We can have a creative autocracy where we dictate people go and express themselves in positive ways. So this next song is going to be about the wonderful, amazing, inimitable, certainly all these people are inimitable. Eddie's inimitable. Gair-with-the-Hair's definitely inimitable. Robbie was inimitable, and David McBride inimitable, and Julian Assange definitely inimitable. And it was just such a glorious day for him to realise his freedom, for his family, for his wife Stella, for John and Gabriel, for the kids, for the whole country, for the world. I mean, it's so rare that we get these, the justice seekers get to see justice with all this injustice in the world. So in terms of giving people hope who are part of the campaign, that it actually made a difference, that, and up against the frickin' might of the US empire, it's incredible. And it was so amazing. I think I had a tear in my eye the other day watching him stroking a lamb somewhere. But I mean, it was just such a testament to freedom and liberty. And I walk down the beach here and I think about, what else is going on in the world and where else I could have happened to have been born, but I just happened to be born here in this body and form and whatever. So there's a lot to be grateful for. That's
sometimes a little bit hard to swallow.
Yes.
You live in this,
I know,
very special, I would say, realm where we don't know what it's like to have.
That's right. Rockets blowing up your house. Absolutely. I love interjection. That's where the PFAS class action was, in Williamtown, because it leaked out from the firefight, aqueous film forming foam from the firefighting.
Oh my God.
Same as Darwin,
Yeah, and so whoever had the amazing idea that the commercial airport is next door. Okay, and I'm there, and I had it, because I've been writing a Palestine song too.
Yep.
Not today, but, and so...
We'll definitely get you back on for that, because that's a big part of the podcast.
Well, that's my latest.
Yeah.
And so, like all of us that are into this sort of
justice,
the justice road, and so really quickly, and this shows you, or showed to me, it was the most incredible juxtaposition. Father, in his maybe early 30s, with a little 5-year-old boy, and I'm just sitting there reading a book, waiting for my plane, and I look up, and they've got, of course, the big glass, windows that look out on the runway. And you can literally see there's a Virgin or Jetstar plane landing here, and then just off in the distance there's this, bloody whatever they are these days, F-15 fighting.
Yeah.
And like there's this afterburn glowing in the night sky, and the dad's there going,
the
son going, like it's some fucking exciting thing. And I thought, and I wrote a poem.
Amazing.
And it was all about how, it's in my phone, because what I thought was, if that dude and his son were in Gaza right now, and that fighter jet was coming towards them and going, I don't think they'd be all jubilant and exuberant and excited and, fascinated. And, what's the fascination? It's a killing machine.
Oh, exactly.
And yet we're taught, check.
Yeah, it's all propaganda. I actually, but it is
a bit passionate.
All of the weapons dealers and manufacturers that are profiteering off a genocide. And there have been amazing actions in the UK where they've taken apart Elbit systems, etc. And, people have got arrested and they've taken responsibility for their actions. Yeah. But I actually signed up to Lockheed Martin just to get their insanely inhuman emails where they boast about all this disgusting crap that they make.
Do with this stuff.
Yeah, and it's all like tech bro kind of whatever, and it's just like it's an insult to the dignity of humanity that even exists. But I want to witness it. I was having this conversation with my mum the other day. She was like, "Oh, it's all too much, da da da." And I was like, "Mum, at least you have the privilege to say that it's all too much. All we need to do is bear witness." I mean, my mum got me writing letters for political prisoners for Amnesty International when I was 15. And so she's been a big inspiration in my life. But she's like, doesn't want to deal with it. And, that's fine. But I still think that even if you feel helpless, feel helpless. Yep. Try and find things to do from that helplessness. Write songs, write music, write poems, keep speaking. Keep speaking out. Do something. Do something. Don't just turn off your humanity. Don't harden your heart. Don't kind of fall in a heap. It's just so important to do that and to take that action. And
again, as you said, in this privileged country, we get to watch fighter jets landing.
Well, and I was going to say, just from what you were saying, we went to the fireworks on New Year's in Brisbane. We took the ferry with my 2-year-old and my 5-year-old, and my 14-year-old was elsewhere. And we'd gone to, talking about like the glorification of the military and militarisation, they have this event in Brisbane every year called River Fire, where they used to fly a jet fighter that dropped a fuel bomb. Like now that but now that climate change is the thing, but everyone get down for River Fire. I mean, my dad used to take us out to the RAF bases for all the air shows, and it's all about that, and it's all about glory. Yeah, and it's all about and I mean, my old man was drafted for Vietnam, but he was just lucky. He'd finished his university degree. He was 21. He went to Duntroon. He was lecturing actually as a 21-year-old other officers in physics and radiometry or something. And then there was a change in government and the draft got scrapped and he didn't have to go to Vietnam. So he was lucky. But in any event, he still used to take us to these RAF shows and whatever else. Anyway, we had gone to the River Fire a couple of years ago with some friends, and their daughter freaked the hell out because they bring in these big like war helicopters and stuff.
Incendiary devices, whatever.
Yeah, but they just come in really low, and it's like this thing that's meant to excite them. But their daughter was just freaking out, and it was just like really disproportionate freaking out, and I was just like, wow, was she like, is this a past life thing, or is something going on? Like, what's going on? So we went to the fireworks last year and my 2-year-old was 1 and he was fine. This year though, he totally freaked out. And so in the end, because I've been exposed to everything, as we all have on the live stream, about what's happening in Gaza, and people have been posting, New York or Sydney fireworks and Gaza bombs going off. And so I was kind of holding him because he calmed down when I was holding him, and I had my eyes closed, and all I could be thinking of is people in Gaza holding their children. But I had the privilege of knowing that this was A, it was fireworks, and B, it was going to end. And then I couldn't help but think of like, imagine being in this position when you don't know it's going to end, you don't know you're going to be alive, you can't tell their children you're going to be safe. And it was just it was full on, but it was again bearing witness. It's like having, I can come out of that experience and be safe, but it really made me think, it's just another level. And for people to not pay attention or not be bothered to pay attention, I mean, that offends me deeply.
Again, because I keep saying that I don't want to sound elitist or whatever, or above, or thinking above others or whatever, or it's just on a different level, obviously, because again, as you said, but that was really poignant, how you get to hold your sewing company, but you're not going to get blown to pieces.
Exactly, yeah. And I know it's going to end. So the noise, because I was in there and I was just like, I wish these fireworks would stop, because I could tell he was upset, and it's just like, when's it going to stop? And it's just like, and then I was just like, I'm not even going to look at them. Like, it was kind of as a kind of a protest for myself. Like, I'm not going to enjoy this because I know there's people in the world who are being blown apart at the moment, who can't enjoy anything because they've been restrained from doing that. Yeah, in living in horror against they didn't choose to be born where they were. No one chooses that for themselves. We better get to the...
Did you want me to do Collateral Murder?
Yes, please.
I will say, it's obviously a past thing, because I was trying to raise awareness, to help Julian's
when he was in Belmarsh. Yes. No, that's good for the historical record.
It's a historical... Yep. John Shipton asked Rosie and I to perform at a gathering, just after Julian's release, and we were honoured to go to St Kilda, where he arranged. He had a big birthday bash. For Julian.
Awesome! Yeah.
And so we played with in front of a few hundred people.
Amazing!
St Kilda Sports Club to celebrate his
release
from
and birthday. Yeah,
and his birthday. And so anyway, and at the last sort of gathering, Julian's out of jail and he's back in the country. And I said to John, I don't think it's relevant to play Collateral Murder, is it? And he went, I'm telling you it is. And when John Shipton says, I'm telling you, so I feel just really honoured that he sort of, I think
loved the song.
He got where I was coming from.
Yep.
And he said that, no disrespect, but a lot of people had written some songs that he's written. He's like,
they didn't hit the nail on the head.
Well, because this isn't about me.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
And there's not one egoic.
There were a lot of people involved in the Assange campaign where it was all about them, and that happens. Unfortunately,
it's human
it
nature.
is. It is. Yeah,
ego,
totally
powerful thing. And
totally,
I've battered mine enough to know that it's not about me.
You're enlightened.
I don't know about enlightenment.
You've got the Gair-with-the-Hair enlightenment. So
because I'm a blues lover. This is actually, I did it in a blues dirge.
Beautiful.
It's one of the most.
Yeah, well, can we just promote you quickly? You on SoundCloud, Spotify?
This song is on my daughter.
I hate Spotify, by the way, but
no, I don't touch that. I'm a bit of a bohemian, whatever, I can't use a computer at 63.
Wonderful. Luddite, I think we call it.
Luddite.
But Luddite needs to be given a positive. Now that we're in the era of AI, robot, autonomous weapon systems, I think people need to reimagine the history of Luddites who were actually taking apart the industrial machinery because they wanted to preserve the integrity of the community and not allow that just blatant exploitation of people.
The rise of the machine.
So, exactly. Rise of the machine.
One of my favourite novels is Thomas Hardy, Far from the Madding Crowd, because that was based in England at the time of the
Luddites.
No, well, and that sort of massive, just roller coaster snowball of industrialisation. Yes, where people were taken from the land, and now we've got still in Yorkshire in the north and in Wales all these rows of little workers' cottages because they had to go down the pit, and down the steelworks, and so great novel. Collateral Murder is a blues dirge.
We love it. I used to rap with a 10-piece brass band. They played more New Orleans funk, but a lot of them studied blues. Wow. And at the Conservatorium in West Australia.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it was a community brass band, so they play at protests and whatever. Most of the musicians, my friend, it was a conspiracy because he wanted a brass band, so he got these musicians from the Conservatorium who didn't really care about any of the politics; they just wanted to play music. He got the band into all the politics, so they had to play the music. And then he got me and this other guy to rap with the band, which the musicians hated, but then it made us cool, and we played at nightclubs and at festivals and stuff. And so it was an elaborate conspiracy for positive community participation. It was cool.
The whole, enmeshing. Because it's all music.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so this is Collateral Murder, written for Julian in his probably darkest hour.
Yes.
Make it or not, and so yeah. journalist named Julian Assange who told the truth. Because he found the evidence, oh yeah, he had the proof of collateral murder committed by the US in Iraq. And the images were brutal. Oh yeah, the images were stark. There's an Apache chopper, it's hovering in the sky over downtown Baghdad. 16 civilians are about to die. For little did they know what was about to go down, because they were just standing around talking, oh, like we do when we're downtown. Yeah, they were just standing around talking, oh, like we do when we're downtown. And then the guns started firing, taking them out one by one. You could hear the soldiers laughing and joking as they watched them run. And there were 2 Iraqi journalists reporting for Reuters at the scene. And they were just both carrying cameras, not guns, you can easily see it on the screen. But the soldiers said they had weapons and looked like insurgents, but you can't see that on the screen. And then the soldiers kept on firing, taking them out one by one. You can hear the soldiers laughing and joking as they watched them run. Then a man came along in a van with his 2 small children by his side. He hadn't done anything wrong, oh, he had no reason to run and hide. He was only trying to help the wounded, but the soldiers sound like they're playing a game. They opened fire on the children and the man, and the bullets keep falling like rain. One said you shouldn't bring your kids to a war, and they laughed with no conscience or shame. And these are the things they don't want us to see. These are the images you won't see on TV. So if you don't keep quiet, oh, if you dare to speak, then you'll end up like that good man named Julian Assange from WikiLeaks, thrown into prison and falsely charged with espionage, while the real war criminals, oh yeah, well they're still at large. Like the real war criminals, yeah, they're still at large. Because those criminals started a war those civilians didn't ask for. Because those criminals started a war for the oil and the spoils those civilians didn't ask for. Because those criminals started a war for the oil and the spoils that they should be trying for. So if you value your freedom, your freedom of speech, then we better be like that good man named Julian Assange from WikiLeaks, and stand up for justice and your human rights by exposing the lies and the greed and the crimes they want hidden from your sight. By exposing the lies and the greed and the crimes they want hidden from our sight. These are the images you won't see on TV. the things they don't want us to see. Because those criminals started a war, those civilians didn't ask for. Because those criminals started a war for the oil and the spoils, those civilians didn't ask for. Because those criminals started a war for the oil and the spoils that they should be tried for. Because those criminals started a war.
Woo!
It's a bit of a hard one to play.
Amazing. I want to touch those hands, maybe get some magic finger picking power. But that was
it's a bit of an epic. I've got to,
no
excuses.
not at all, not at all. That was incredible. Infectious groove comes to mind. The words infectious groove.
I think as a blues lover,
you totally nailed it.
Back to the Delta.
I think we found the soundtrack for the Seeking Justice podcast, which would be wonderful. That was amazing. Be great if Julian heard this at home with Stella and the kids, had a little boogie. And thank you so much, Gair, for just dropping in with an amazing synchronicity.
Well, I've been dropping in every now and again and having a jam with Eddie.
Oh, wonderful.
Sort of,
yeah.
Hasn't happened for a while because she's obviously a very busy woman too. But,
yeah.
But I feel honoured.
It's amazing.
Anything to,
spread the word.
Put that little tiny iota of...
Well, hopefully we'll get it right out there and people will be able to search for your songs online somewhere, even though you're a Luddite, a committed Luddite.
One of on YouTube,
under
Gair Jenkins.
Oh, yes. How do you spell Gair?
Like hair.
Oh, yeah, G-A...
Phonetically.
G-A-I-R.
To make it easier. I got called a wog in Wollongong in 1967 as a migrant because I spoke like a little Welsh boy. And the Australian kids would say, "What's your name?" And I go, Geraint.
Ah, Geraint.
Another wog.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was Italians, Greeks, Polish, Yugoslavian melting pot of 60s migrants.
Oh,
so
yeah.
if you had a weird accent, weird name,
you just got called a wog. I think it was WOG an acronym?
Well, my dad liked to tell me that it was for Western Oriental Gentlemen.
No, maybe not.
No, I think that there was some.
Well, maybe it was, and the racists didn't realise that that's what they were saying. But who knows? But it sounds very Tolkien-esque actually when you're saying that. Is there a Geraint?
Is the German.
Sorry, keep getting mixed up. But Geraint is in Tolkien. Is there a Geraint?
With Welsh,
yes,
and ancient Celtic history.
Because he wrote from Tasmania. He was down in Tasmania, and the Blue Tier Forest. There's some connection up there because I don't know.
Elven sort of
exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Geraint, it was a real figure in Arthurian legend. And he was one of the protectors of the realm.
Oh, yes.
In the the Knights of the Round Table, there was Galahad, Gawain,
of course.
all these. And Geraint was one of the protectors of the realm. So that's my dad's.
That's amazing.
Love of Celtic history, and it is an ancient Welsh name. So
that's so cool.
It wasn't good as.
Do you have a middle name?
Glyn. Geraint Glyn Jenkins.
Oh, good.
More bloody well.
GGJ. Thank you, GGJ. Yeah, lovely to meet you. Thank you. We feel honoured.
We'll have to have a jam.
Absolutely. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to like. And, go play some music and enjoy your day, evening, week, month, year. Get active, get out there and do some amazing and positive stuff for the world. Thank you. Spread the word. That's right. Spread the song. Spread the word.